The Los Angeles Rams have already clinched a playoff spot, a home playoff game, but we're going to talk about the possibility of them resting their starters, what Sean McVay is already saying about resting the starters, and if it's a good idea. The Rams have serious implications still on the docket, so we have to talk about those different playoff scenarios, all in today's episode of the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Josh Rehinon. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor and press that subscribe button, as 87.6% of you guys are watching the videos but still not subscribed to the channel. Do us a favor, hit the subscribe button as we try to grow to 2,000 subscribers, but you don't miss any daily Rams content here at the Rams Digest. So let's get into this right off the bat, right? I want to get right into this because we have a lot to discuss as resting the starters, right? What is Sean McVay saying about it? He was talking on the Sean McVay show, a kind of weekly episode that he does for Los Angeles Rams. If you check out their YouTube channel, you can hear him talking about it, or the app, the website, wherever you want to check it out. But Sean McVay discussing resting the starters and the possibility of that happening. Here is what he's talking about in terms of resting them versus Seattle. He says, I would imagine as we continue to finalize our plans, that's probably the direction we'll go. Again, Sean McVay talking about resting the starters versus Seattle. And I said, this is the kind of the what I'm leaning towards, right? I think a lot of fans are on the same boat. Rest the starters. Who cares? Week 18, we don't need it. It's all good. Let's rest our starters. Be prepared as prepared as possible for the wild card round. Whoever we play, doesn't matter. We're hosting a game. Let's go in and beat whoever we play at SoFi Stadium. But I do want to put a pause in this for a second. Again, I'm on your side. I agree with you. I'm in that boat kind of to an extent. I was in that boat until I really broke down the possible routes, right, for the Rams and who they can possibly face in the playoffs. I talked about this last episode. Washington Commanders would be ideal. But we're in a kind of a scary situation now for the Rams. If they don't win this game, if you bench Matthew Stafford, if you bench Cooper Kupp, and maybe Puka Nacua doesn't play, and Kyren Williams doesn't get much run, you're using Blake Corum and Rob Havenstein dealing with a shoulder injury. He's out. A couple of defensive players out. Are we 100% confident the Rams will win the game? It doesn't seem like Sean McVay has much interest in that. He doesn't really care. Of course, they're going in, and he said it multiple times, they're going in to win the game, of course. They're going to coach the game to win it. They're not going to coach it to lose. But the concerning part is you have a Jimmy G and all these backups coming in. If you don't win this game, it's a tough Seattle team, right? What are the scenarios that can take place? And so right now the Rams have already clinched their playoff berth, right? They already clinched a home playoff game. They currently hold the number 3 seed entering week 18. But the concerning part is that I do need to acknowledge, I think we all need to acknowledge, is that this is not locked in. This is not something the Rams have officially locked in terms of the number 3 seed specifically. Now, they locked a home game because they are the NFC West champions. They have won the division, so therefore they will be locked in, strength of schedule, all that good stuff, whatever. But the concerning part is you're not locked into that 3rd seed. So you're not locked into playing the Washington Commanders. So if we pull this up here, I want you guys to take a look at this. Here is kind of the rooting guide in general. Now, I think there are a couple of mistakes here, so don't take everything you guys are reading here as fact. But here is the important key thing I do want to point out. This is true. If the Rams lose and the Bucs win, the Bucs would earn the number 3 seed and bump the Rams down to the number 4 seed. Now, if that scenario plays out where the Rams are now the 4th seed and the Buccaneers are now the 3rd seed, you would think, okay, cool, who are we playing? We're playing either the Minnesota Vikings or the Detroit Lions, arguably the 2 best teams in the NFC. And so that is the concern for the Rams. Just a quick, simple, hey, Rams lose to the Seattle Seahawks with all their backups in. That's very possible to happen. And then on the other side, the Buccaneers beat the New Orleans Saints, who are essentially playing for nothing but a draft pick, who have a rookie quarterback in there who doesn't look. I think Spencer Rattler might be a second-year quarterback, but regardless, a young quarterback in there who clearly is struggling to win games, and it looks like Alvin Kamara is probably not going to play. And it's very possible the Bucs can win that game as well. And so they're fighting for their playoff lives. They're not going to not play hard in that game. And so I think the concerning part here is that's a really simple thing that can happen, and we'll show you what it looks like. And it just is kind of a scary thing that I think the Rams and Rams fans need to acknowledge, right? So here is a kind of a simulator. You guys can pull this up on ESPN as well if you guys want to play with it. If you guys disagree with some of these matchups I've said are winning, some of these I just really clicked out of nowhere. I didn't really think about it much. But here's a scenario, right, that can possibly happen for the Rams and for the NFL in general. This is what the playoffs would look like if, Week 18 matchups go the way the Rams kind of wanted to, right? The Rams somehow, some way, even with Jimmy G, they go out and they win their game versus the Seattle Seahawks. Great, awesome, good job, Rams. You are the number 3 seed. It looks like you're probably going to play, even if Washington, the Commanders win, it looks like you're going to play the 12-5 Washington Commanders 6-seeded team. Now, again, that's a 12-win team. It's still a good team, but it's a rookie quarterback. They were not good last year, so a team inexperienced in terms of the playoffs. The Rams have maybe a little more experience as terms of the coaching staff, right? Sean McVay being to a Super Bowl and winning a Super Bowl versus Dan Quinn, who's been to a Super Bowl but lost, and it's his first year in Washington as head coach after a couple years of being defensive coordinator and blah, blah, whatever. A lot of things we can break down with the Washington Commanders matchup, but again, this is what I talked about last episode. I would prefer playing the Washington Commanders as opposed to a couple other scenarios. This being the main one that I'm going to talk about here. The main one that I'm afraid of is this specific scenario. So let's just say the Minnesota Vikings lose to the Detroit Lions week 18, which is very possible. So that's what I had happen here. Minnesota Vikings lose, Detroit Lions win. Detroit Lions first seed in the NFC, arguably probably what is wanted, what is deserved, right? No offense to Minnesota. Minnesota's a great team, but I think most teams would most people would kind of say, hey, you know what? The Detroit Lions deserve to be the number 1 seed. They've been playing well all season, 15-2. If they finish with that record, great for them. They would be the number 1 seed. So say they're the number 1 seed. The Rams lose. Very realistic to happen. The Rams lose their matchup versus Seattle because they rest their starters. They lose. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers win versus the New Orleans Saints. Now the Rams are sitting in a situation where they're the 4th seed. Yes, they're playing at home, but you're playing the Minnesota Vikings, a 14-win team. Sam Darnold-led team, maybe you say, okay, Sam Darnold's not the scariest quarterback to face, but he's been playing really well. They have 14 wins on the year. They have Justin Jefferson. They have a good coach, well-coached team. Maybe the Rams are a little more experienced. Maybe some people out there say, I'm not afraid of Sam Darnold. Give me Sam Darnold. But I think I'm afraid of the 14-win team. I'm afraid of the unguardable receiver in Justin Jefferson. And I'm a little more concerned about this matchup than I would be Washington. And I'm not saying that I'm right in that thinking, but I think I have a valid point here, right? That I think I'd rather face the Washington Commanders than the Minnesota Vikings. And that's kind of where I'm at in my my rooting guide, what I'm rooting for. The Rams kind of got to take care of business on Sunday. They kind of got to beat the Seattle Seahawks. Obviously, it's a division rival as well. You always want to beat Seattle, but you want to win that game so that way you're in the best possible matchup for your playoff run. And I don't think that's going to happen if the Rams lose and the Buccaneers win. And so that is my number 1 concern. You guys let me know if you're concerned about this at all, or if you're just thinking, you know what, rest of starters, who cares? Sean McVay's right. It's not really that big of a deal. And he did mention in his interview, it's risk, reward, right? You're risking Cooper Kupp. You're going down, or Matthew Stafford going down, knock on wood, or a Puka Nacua, or a Kyren Williams, or Rob Havenstein forcing himself to play, injures his shoulder more. You're risking a lot more by playing your starters than you are, say you go into a game, you're playing Minnesota, we're at home, we're playing Minnesota. I mean, it's a tough game, don't get me wrong, but from Sean McVay's coaching perspective and from his experience perspective, he's saying, I don't care who we play, we have a home game already, we did our job, let's just rest our starters so we can get ready to battle whoever we play. We don't care who we face. Maybe that's a valid point. I think it would be nice to play a Washington versus a Minnesota. You guys let me know what you think in the comments, though, as you let me know if you're as concerned as I am about this specific scenario kind of going down. Moving on from that, though, let's talk about this. Playoff scenarios. Oh, I just broke that down, so maybe not. I did want to give a shout-out, though. I'll cancel that. But I do want to give a shout-out to a couple of players specifically, as I want to pull this up here. Shout-out to Joshua Carty. We talked about this early in the season. A little bit concerned about his kicking, right? A little bit concerned about what he was doing, but got to give Joshua Carty his flowers here, as he has officially become the second most field goals by a rookie in franchise history. If you guys are curious, and we could pull this up too, he is actually just behind a legendary Rams kicker. Let's pull it up here. 1978 it was, I believe, the last record. Yeah, 1978, Frank Corral, he made 29 field goals in his rookie season for the Rams, and so Josh Riccardi sitting right behind him in terms of the record, if you guys are curious. So maybe Josh Riccardi goes out and makes 5 field goals, and he breaks the rookie record for the Rams and becomes this kind of forever etched in history of Rams history. But second most field goals by a kicker is impressive, and we also have to acknowledge that Frank Corral did it in a 17-week season versus Josh Riccardi. If he does somehow beat the record in Week 18, which I think is unlikely, if he does beat it, though, it would be a little bit of an asterisk because we do have 18 weeks now in the season. So, but shout out Josh Riccardi, right? 17 games or within the first 17 weeks of the season, he has been second in Rams history for most field goals made. So credit to him for doing what he has to do. And we talked about this last episode as well. I didn't want to bring this up just to mention it. I was talking about the Mr. October conversation, Mr. December conversation for Matthew Stafford. And this is why they're calling him Mr. December. You can talk about the stats all you want, but 13-1 record with the Rams. Matthew Stafford, Mr. December. Clap it up for your quarterback as he is 13-1. Again, say what you want about the stats, especially the last few weeks offensively for the Rams. Your veteran quarterback figures out ways to win. That's what I was talking about too, right? He doesn't get flustered, right? The veteran doesn't really get worried about, hey, we're not scoring on offense. Oh my gosh, they're really getting to me. The defensive line are sacking me, whatever it is. He doesn't get flustered. He doesn't freak out. Regardless of what numbers he's putting up, he goes out there and wins games for you in December. Shout out to Matthew Stafford, Mr. December. That's going to do it for me on today's episode of the Rams Digest. You guys let me know what you guys think about all the information we talked about here. We're going to get into that Seattle Seahawks matchup this weekend. We'll definitely talk about that over the next couple episodes. But happy New Year's Eve, everyone. Hope you guys have a happy and safe New Year's Eve celebration. And hopefully you guys are getting ready to party this weekend and get excited about the Rams officially clinching and making the playoffs. Moving forward, we're going to obviously talk all about their matchup versus Seattle and future matchups, the Rams Digest. I'm your host, Joshua Hidong. That's going to do it for me, and I am out.